Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In. We're brought to you by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all your Nike gear. By Resolite, go to resolite.com, the absolute best mat company in the business. And Pure and Clean cleaning products, pureandclean.us. Joined, as always, by my good friend Mark Ostrander. Our other great friend, Grant Turner, is on assignment at the U23 Worlds. Mark, I know you're not a huge social media guy, but GT is the star of the show over there. He is coaching as a part of the Mongolian Federation, and there was a late scramble, and he's doing the no points wave off. But he's been in a couple corners where there was a bronze medal won, and then he's still doing his duties for Nike over there. You know how I feel about you and GT, but I'm very, very proud of Grant that he's over there literally burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah, that's awesome that he's able to still do the coaching things that I'm not able to do anymore or don't do. You still do some coaching. I think you were in Who's Number One that Flo put on, coaching one of the athletes. So, we're staying up on what's going on. And that's kind of the cool thing about this podcast is we have people that are actually out there doing different things still.
I think it was never emphasized enough how active GT is on the front lines. Like literally as the Nike rep, he talks to over 60, 65 NCAA Division I head coaches and coaching staffs every year.
Yeah.
You're right about Who's Number One. Awesome event put together by Flo at Coralville Extreme Arena. Very cool arena up there for people that haven't been. That little sort of cul-de-sac they have there with all the restaurants and the bars and the hotels, and it's kind of a home away from home. Once you're there, you don't have to do a lot of traveling. I got to be in the corner of Joseph Jeter. He lost to Nicholas Singer. Congratulations to Singer from Faith Christian. Jeter hadn't wrestled a match since February, and you could just tell he was a step off. And I'm friends with their family, and I kind of encouraged him to wrestle in Border Brawl. I think I should have almost insisted as much as I could, like just to shake the rust off, get some matches in, go to Elite Eight first, those kind of things. Ring rust is real. Mat rust is real. I have a feeling those guys will see each other later in the year. Cheater is also up 18 pounds. He's huge, but his last match was a 157. He is a legit physically 175 pounder now. I'm very good friends with his pops, and I told him I thought he'd be a 74, 84 in college, and I think I might be wrong. He might end up as a 97, but definitely the days of 157, 165, those days have flown by. So we're going to do
David, that's kind of the neat thing about this sport is that we have young men that they start out and they wrestle most of their, high school years at lower weights, and all of a sudden they go through a growth spurt. And now they're wrestling 174, 184, but they're still wrestling like they're 138 pounders in high school or whatever it is now, but it's changed so much since I wrestled. And that really gives them an advantage when they go up the upper weights. I really believe that. They'll get the strength that they need to have there, but they've got, they've been wrestling smaller guys, so they're quicker, and they just have so much more to show.
I'm friends with a young man who won state as a freshman this past year in his tournament. I think most people know who I'm talking about. Pinned his way through the state tournament. He was 2 inches taller than me. He is now 2 inches shorter than me. He is now 4 inches taller than me, and moved up to 120, then 126. I'm very good friends with his mom and dad. Spoke with them for about a half an hour yesterday about stuff, and I'm like, if the grocery bill is not too big, let him eat. Like, get him as big as he can. He's got great little guy skills. He'll figure out the adjustment. And I should say this, Mark, and you're a very humble guy. As much as I'm proud of Grant, and you are too, and you're very supportive of what I'm doing with Border Brawl and play-by-plays and the other things in the sport of wrestling, you're one of the great minds. You have a great ability to break down matches, break down skill sets. You had a great eye for talent and recruiting, like which guys would make it and which guys wouldn't. And nobody bats 1,000, but I think you batted as high as anybody could. and knowing like, hey, David has these skill sets. I think these will translate well. These other skill sets, I think he's going to have to develop here, and then nobody comes in with just everything perfect, right? I mean, even Gable Stevenson, those kind of guys, there's always something to fix, whether it's just getting more physically mature, whether it's being tough. But it's one of the great things I like talking to you about wrestling, because you're not just like, well, I think so-and-so is going to win. You're like, I think this is going to happen, and here's where so-and-so is going to struggle. And we're going to get into that. So our podcasts this year are going to be more frequent and shorter in duration. Like rather than an hour once a week, might be 2, 3, maybe even 4, but a lot more 20, 30-minute ones. Like today, we're just going to do 125. We've also, with this YouTube channel we have set up, we're going to be able to go live. We're recording this on October 27th, but I will be live at the National Duels. So we're going to go live from there. There'll be other things. Like we probably would have went live from Who's Number One, just being in the background, grabbing a guy like Kevin Jackson or some of those other guys, Chance Marstow or a bunch of those kind of guys are back there coaching and, just getting them on the air with your phone or those kind of things. So certainly going live from the Iowa Athletic Club would have been fun. It was sort of a coach's paradise in there.
Yeah.
The staffs from, half the D1s. Like I walked in and a buddy of mine on Friday night invited me over to his table, and Max Schmerin and Michael Kemmer are sitting there. And, it's, if you're only watching and not listening, Mark's got this great smile on his face. Like that's what wrestling's about, right? Like walking in, and I know who those guys are. I'm not sure if they know who I am. That's fine. But there's a person that says, hey, they're cool, you're cool, be cool to each other. And it is instantly, you're finding common ground with people. So
yeah.
I love that part of our sport. There's people in my life that I'm introducing into it. And I love just how accepting, our people are. Like, as long as you're a good person, you're in the group, so to speak. So, all right. So we want to talk today about 125. We're literally knocking on the doorstep of the college season. The Southeast Open and some other tournaments are this weekend. Again, I think we'll get this up before Friday and Saturday, but like I said, we'll just talk about 125 today. I will do a share screen here for people that are watching. And so here's intermatch rankings. They've got V-Rob 1, Spratley 2, Lillidow 3, Ventresca 4, Sheldon Seymour 5, Strickenberger 6, Sibo Poulin 7, Yori Volk 8, then your round of 12 guys, Nico Rivera, Dean Peterson, Nico Probo, Jacob Moran, your round of 16 guys, Trevor Anderson, Blake West, Spencer Moore, Cooper Flynn, and then your round of 24 guys, McGowan, Renneria, McCrone, Terrakina, Charlie Farmer, Diego Sotelo, Kevon Roller, Barrick Jordan. I'm going to start at the bottom here. Barrick Jordan's an incoming freshman, really good with the Firemen's, a guy worth keeping an eye on. Brendan McCrone, the rumors we're hearing, Mark, is that Bouzakis is going to get down to 25. And if he gets down to 25, I feel like he very quickly climbs the rankings. I'm just going to kind of set the table and then flip it over to you. Cooper Flynn's a guy who's transferred a couple times. Nico Probo is a guy that one year where everybody was ranked number 1. He was one of those guys that was ranked number 1, at least for a week or two. I think after winning Vegas that year. Dean Peterson, the transfer from Rutgers, who had the huge upset against Richie Figueroa. Yori Volk, the transfer from Wyoming. Steve O'Poulin, the transfer from Northern Colorado. The portal is real. Eddie Ventresca, I think I saw an interview with Roby. It looks like he's going to redshirt this year. I think Virginia Tech's going to do some redshirting and really load up for 26, 27. Luke Lillidow, shout out Luke Lillidow, St. Louis, St. Charles kid. Just won the U23s, Mark. I think he's the only guy, I know he's the only guy ever to make the finals 5 years in a row at age group worlds between U17, U20, U23. I'm very good friends with the parents. Had zero to do with his success, but great people. His high school coach wrestled for me and my dad. Spratley and V-Rob are 1 and 2, and that is a possible matchup at the national duels. So, first of all, your initial thoughts on the weight class.
I think it's a loaded weight class this year. I think it's going to be like it has been the last few years, I don't really see, besides Luke, who I think could probably go undefeated. I'm not sure there's anybody else in there that will go undefeated because there's such parity within that weight class. I mean, you can go all the way down to, 23, 24. These are good kids. You got Jordan at 28.
Yeah, here on Flow, he's 28.
Yeah, he's a stud. And he could beat some of these guys ahead of him. I'm not saying he's top tier, but he's good enough to keep matches close and maybe pull out a win here or there, right at the end. So, McCrone pinned Little Doll last year in the duel, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
He
who
did.
wrestled?
And he may not start.
Yeah, he may not even be their starter. And we know how Buzakas, I mean, of all the kids last year that I was worried about for Drake Ayala to wrestle at the national tournament, it was Buzakas because he's so good when you take him down, he gets you into his position and puts you to your back. And once you go to your back, you're in big trouble. And
Buzakas gave Dayton Fix an absolute battle. Dayton senior year came down to like rideouts or overtime, something like that. Diego Sotelo is another kid, a Harvard transfer over at Michigan. Michigan's got several portal kids. They get a lot of those postgraduates from the Ivy League. It seems to be a trend that they've been able to do with like Cardenas and those kind of guys. So, yeah, and if you're not watching, we flipped over to Flow's rankings. There's not a lot of disparity here early in the year, markets. And you and I did the rankings for, I think, 5 or 6 years for track wrestling, and it's a fairly, I won't say simple, it's a lot of work, but it's a fairly regimented process. You take the nationals from the last year, delete out all the seniors, you rank those guys accordingly. So if it's 33, might be 20, usually it was between 20 and 28 left. Bring in any returning All-Americans from a previous year, like a 184, like a Rocco Welsh. And then that's an interesting one on how you do that, right? Like you and me would usually discuss it and you would usually win. And then, what'd you say?
Yeah, I said, yeah, right. I would usually win. It was your name on it, so I let you make the final decision. I just put in my 2 cents worth and tell you why I think what I thought. And then you went through and marked the names
I think
down.
the most important thing is consistency, right? Like, let's say you take a second place guy from the year before and you put him over a third place guy from the current year. That's defendable. You just got to do it every time. You can't be like, well, this guy looked really good, those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think people need to understand also, Dave, is that these are rankings. These are not actually how we may think, and we'll give you our opinion how we think they're going to finish and what they're going to do. But these are just rankings. And, when you transfer to another school, David, things change. If you transfer to Oklahoma State, you're going to get a different feel. You're going to get different coaching philosophies. If you transfer to an Iowa State, if you transfer to Penn State, it's going to be different. And we know what they've done in the past, so we can use that to make our predictions a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, right? Like Oklahoma State's getting the bump on these Penn State kids, like when we get to Facundo and Zach Ryder and those kind of kids, because Oklahoma State sort of caught lightning in a bottle last year, especially with Hamady and Hendrickson. Obviously, Jameson was a disappointment. Spratley wrestled. They had 3 or 4 guys wrestle over their seeds, and pretty dramatic results from that. At the same time, it's interesting because like Rocco Welsh is ranked behind Ferrari. Rocco Welsh made the NCAA finals as a true freshman. The only guy I lost was a 5-timer. And he's going not arguably, to a program that's been more successful at the national tournament. From Ohio State has been really good to Penn State has been otherworldly, especially in the upper weights. So that's where there's some finesse, right? Like, for example, if you think Luke Lillidow is better than Troy Spratley, you can't rank him ahead of him. You can pick him ahead of him. You can't rank him ahead of him.
Not right now, yes.
Well, right. You can't rank them, and it's interesting because we're in the middle of college football season too, right? And style points count. Like, you're watching these results. And, if you're ranked fifth and you win 49-0, and I'm ranked fourth and I win 39-38 against a 3 and 4 team, you can hop me, I think one of the major differences in that is that the rankings ultimately determine who gets to play for the national title. In this sport, it's that gold, silver, bronze criteria. As long as you're hitting your numbers, you're going to get in the bracket. Rankings affect seeding, and people that's the other thing too. Like on YouTube now, we're going to be able to say things a little more freely. Rankings affect seeding because the coaches poll is the single biggest slice of the seeding formula. And I don't think
is that 10%, David?
No, 25.
25. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think they frankly want to do it, and I don't think they should do it. I don't think they should do it because it's hard to not be biased towards your own guy. And I think they shouldn't do it because their job all year isn't to study everybody in the weight, it's to get their 10 guys as good as they can. And I don't think they should do it because it eliminates the temptation to trade votes, right? Like, hey, I'll vote for your guy. Like, each school gets one weight, something like that, maybe 2 or 3 weights, but then each weight is done by 3 or 4 schools, and that's how the coaches poll comes. But a lot of the coaches polls start with the rankings. When I was doing track wrestling rankings, coaches would call me and they're like, why do you have this the way it is? And sometimes I'm like, here's why. And sometimes it's an educated guess. I remember one year at 174, between 7 and 17, everybody had beat and lost everybody else in there. And it was 1 week we were trying to figure out, well, this guy's 4 and 3 in this group and this other guy's 3 and 4. So I guess we're doing it that way. But the 3 and 4 guy beat the 4 and 3 guy head to head. And, it gets messy. It really gets messy. Like the days of Jason Nolf and Bo Nickel and Zane Rutherford, where you just rank them 1 and the losses to those guys don't hurt you. Those are a ranker's dream, where A beat B, B beat C, etc. So, okay, well, let's make picks. How do you want to do this? Do you want to pick your top 8? Do you want to pick your 8? Let's pick this. Let's pick your 2 finalists. Okay. Pick your champion and runner up, and then I just pick your All-Americans. We won't. Because it's a lot of that is seeding, right?
Sure. Yeah. I'm going to take Luke Littledahl to win the national title this year. I just think with this international on his feet, he's had a whole year to get better on the mat, and that was where he really kind of struggled last year. He had a couple losses. But the funny thing is, David, is that the match he lost at Nationals to Seymour from Lehigh, he got taken down.
We got shut down. It was like a 1-1 criteria match. He had a match like that with a kid from Blair in high school. And you talk about behind the scenes, okay? So the Blair kid kept controlling his lead hand. Okay, Luke's a lefty lead. And he kept catching his fingers on the way in. So you can't fake. No one's going to bite on the fake when they know you can't really shoot. And I talked to his coach about this, his high school coach, and he goes, he learned how to make a fist when he's faking, because then you can get your hand, you can't really grab it. And it was such a cool high-level conversation to have. Anyway, keep going. So you have Luke as your champ.
Yeah, I'm going to take Luke as my champ. My number 2 is going to be Vince Robinson from NC State, returning national champion. I just like the way he wrestles. And with Ventresca probably redshirting, that's it. Because that's one guy he struggled with last year during the season. So I like his raise there. So I think he's going to.
And very quickly, they're both in the ACC, so it makes his conference path a lot easier, and conference titles another part of the criteria.
And then my All-Americans, and I'm going to go not specifically in order.
Sure.
I think Dean Peterson from Iowa will be up there fairly high on the podium. It'd be his first time, but I just think being in that Iowa wrestling room with his partners that he has, he's already done a few interviews, and he says how much better he's gotten. It's just a whole different mind frame, and he says, it's really been enjoyable. He actually loves wrestling again, so we'll see if that works out. obviously Spratley's going to be up there fairly high. I think he's got a shot at being in the finals if things go well for him. I think Seymour was kind of a fluke. I didn't see it happening last year. He's a senior, though. I think he'll probably All-American again once you've done it. It makes it a little easier to do it again. You kind of expect it out of yourself. Strickenberg from West Virginia, I've always liked. I think he's a stud. And I'm going to go with Stevie Poulin from Iowa State. I think that's
you got one more. You got one more.
Yeah.
I got Luke is 1, V-Rob is 2. Then I'm just counting these guys. Peterson 3, Spratley 4, Seymour 5, Strickenberger 6, Poulin 7.
Okay. Then I'm going to go Nico Provo from Stanford.
Okay.
He had a great first redshirt year, or his first year that he actually got to see him. He beat some really good kids, and then he did not wrestle last year. So it should be interesting. I think he's a stud.
So I agree with a lot of what you said. I'll kind of start from the bottom. Another kid that we don't maybe talk about enough is Mark Anthony McGowan. He was like 2 seconds away from beating Vince Robinson in the round of 16, I think it was. It was 16 or the quarters, but I think it was the 16. Like it was the 3-14 seed matchup, if I'm correct, because we actually had McGowan on a couple of our teams, our fantasy teams. That's correct, right? It was that round of 16. So I don't know that he places, but he's a guy to keep an eye on. The one guy that sticks out to me that you didn't mention is Jory Volk. He was beat up. I think he's healthy now. I think he's right at the top of that next tier. Like I think Robinson, Lilladale, Spratley are in a tier. And what's nuts is if I bumped one of those guys out in my mind, it's Spratley. Okay, he took second. He won a lot of close matches, but he won them. And a lot of people win a lot of close matches at nationals. There's not as many blowouts. I mean, it's the best of the best. It's pressure. It's Friday night. It's Saturday night. You know, those kind of things. Friday morning. So I'm going to go Luke and V-Rob like you. I'll agree with those two in order. I think Spratley places. I think Seymour places. I think Poulin places. I think Volk places for sure. That's 6. Let's see. There's 2 or 3 kids in here that have wrestled in Border Brawl. It's kind of cool. Zeke Witt, Cale Lordson, Brady Rourke, all 3 of those guys. So that's cool for us, for me to see. I'll take Steve. I said Poulin. I think Nico Rivera might get it done. Like, you know, Wisconsin's not loaded this year. It's basically him and Fugit in terms of who they think that can place. And, you know, Mark, you had really good teams and you had some maybe spotty teams a year or two. And when you have the spotty teams, the guys that can place are almost more meaningful because those are the guys that can, you know, they get you points and they bump you up. You know, like one finalist is the same as 10 round of 12 guys points wise without bonus. So, and I'll take Strickland. So I think the big difference is I have Vulcan, Rivera, you have Peterson and Provo. So we'll get this all documented in our document. So for those of you guys that are watching or listening to this, please hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We're trying, you know, build everybody back up into this. We're going to be doing a lot more short films and things like that, and just being able to be more timely, Mark. Like, I think that's one of the things, like after a duel, before a duel, we can go on, just do up a 15-minute pop-up, make our picks, point some things out for people to watch. I do think quickly as we're looking at this, you know, just going over it, the guys that we both picked, Lilladale, Big 10, Robinson, ACC, Spratley, Big 12, Lehigh, Seymour, EIWA, Strickenberger, Big 12, pinned Spratley last year. Okay, and beat him in the finals. Jory Volk, Big 12 for me. Rivera, Big 10. Dean Peterson, Big 10. Steve-O Poulin, Big 12. Provo is ACC because Stanford is ACC. Sorry, it took me a minute with them being in Cali. So kind of spread out. It's not your normal, everybody's in the Big Ten that's really good. So that'll be interesting to see. Anything else before?
You know what, David, we didn't even say Nick Bouzakis. If he makes 25, I expect him to be an All-American. But we don't have him on the list right now.
I'm going to take Bouzakis over Rivera. I'm changing. Do you want to change? I forgot.
Yeah. Yes, I know. I'll take Bouzakis also. It's one of my top 8, but
You're getting rid of Provo?
Probably.
Well, not probably. You have to.
No, I'm going to get rid of Seymour just because it was he had a really good year last year, but it was just, to me, it was, how did he do that? Because I hadn't seen him do it before. So I'm going to, yeah, that's what I'm taking.
Lehigh is really going to be loaded in like 5 weights.
Yeah.
I think like, go ahead.
This is their year. They've been waiting for this. They've been kind of, holding back, and I think you're going to see a lot come out of Lehigh. I think Nick Bouzakis is going to be an issue for some 25-pounders.
The only thing I'd say about that is I feel like it's a huge weight management issue because he would wrestle poorly coming off the scale at 33. I talked to his dad because we had Jackie, Nick's sister, Jackie, the dad, obviously the father of both of them. When she was in the Pennsylvania border brawl, I got to talk to Troy and get to know him a little bit. And he was saying like Nick is huge for 33. So he's going to have to pull like a Mike Zadok, where he literally shrunk his body like from 149 to 132 for the Olympic weight or whatever it was, Yeah, and you see this like James Green getting a 65, like some of these like RBY it looks like a shell of himself, from 125.4 up when he's at 133. Because most of these guys are not walking around with much body fat anyway. I mean, kids are cutting less weight these days, but most of the weight that we were cutting was just drying ourselves out. It's like you dry yourself out, you rehydrate. It's not like like most of these guys have the same level of body fat percentages level consistently. So, all right. Anything else before we take off?
No, just nice to be back and talking wrestling again.
We may record 133 right after this. We'll see.
Oh, okay.
All right. Actually, don't think you do. You have time. You don't have to go. All right. We appreciate you guys watching and listening. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.